At Block Advisors, we are tax experts for small businesses like Kate's. Kate knows flowers. We know just the right credits and deductions for her. Beautiful.
We're a community of over 19,000 doctors. We practiced at all top 20 U.S. hospitals. We're the #1 provider of doctors in the first year.
And we are live. Hey, Karen.
Hi, Peter. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
It's exciting.
I know. I'm excited to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if I can put her in the background.
Yes.
Here we go.
I'm not on my computer, so I can't see settings. So can you see who's on aside from the two of us?
Yeah, one person said hi so far. The count in the room is we have 3.
Oh, okay. I see. Renisha.
Yeah.
Hi, Renisha. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Gina. Is this Dawn from Beige Book Club? Yes. I know some of these names. Great.
Okay, so here we go. So just like an intro where everybody is logging in from, location.
Mackenzie and Sharon. Hi, Sharon. Renisha is from St. Croix.
Hey.
Renisha, it's great to chat with what are people from St. Croix called? Gina is from New York. Hi, Gina. What part of New York? Are you in Queens like me?
Ooh, we have a Barbados in here.
Yeah, Dawn is Bayesian. Crucian, of course. I knew that. The Crucians. I love it. I don't know a lot of people from St. Croix. Yeah, I don't know a lot of people from St. Croix. Nisha's a Crucian. Sharon is in New Orleans.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna get it started because we got a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
In this book. So first we are going to just dig in and we're going to talk about each story and just give you a take, whether you like it, love it, something deep, because I think some of these stories you really don't grasp how important it is until you go to another story and there's a connection and you're like, for instance, the prologue and the epilogue, the connection with Omar. No, not the prologue. I'm sorry, the endangered species and the epilogue with Omar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was something. So for the prologue, Dragon's Mouth. How did you feel when you open the book and that's the story it starts with?
Yeah.
I personally was just like, oh God, this book is going to be heavy. Hi, Pat.
Hi, Pat.
I thought it was going to be so heavy that I was just like, oh my God, this is just going to be one of those kind of books. Like, that's going to just emotionally leave a sour taste in my mouth. That That's just my initial reaction when I started this book.
The thing that stuck out for me, the first page, is I loved that it had a footnote on the first page. And I felt like, okay, history, because, you know, even though I grew up in Jamaica, there's a lot about Jamaican history that I don't know. And there's a lot about Caribbean history that I feel like every year, every time we do CaribAthon, I learn a little bit more. And I'm always wanting to learn more. And I like how, like, even in the title, Bocas del Dragon, like it has a, you know, it has a superscript, and I was like, okay, tell me more, Miss Mohammed, tell me more. Give me some history from this, you know, Venezuela intersection with the Caribbean. I loved it. So that was my initial reaction. Just, okay, I'm going to learn something about Caribbean history, Caribbean culture, a little bit of the intersection with, you know, the periphery of the Caribbean, because, you know, Venezuela is in South America, and I loved it. I loved it from there. And it just, I feel like every story gave me a little bit more of a snapshot into the culture. So that didn't disappoint. What about you guys? Renisha said she was dramatized from the prologue. Yep.
Yeah, I felt the same.
Bocas, the dragon's mouth.
Yeah.
Officer Babylon. I love that. I love that title because, you know, Babylon is the name, that the colloquial term for all police officers, right? So Officer Babylon is kind of redundant, right? Because the officer is already Babylon in Jamaica. I thought that was really interesting. I love
the prison break. Yeah. I was like, at first I was like, ooh, you know, escaping. But then when you hear what he's escaping to do and go to, and the poor girl situation, I'm like, ooh.
Consuela's story is, oh sad. Man, it's heart-wrenching, right?
Yeah, it's sad because you can tell how she changed already. Like it was like she was struggling with the lesser of two evil in our mind. Go back with this man whose family got me in this situation in the first place. Or stay here with a man that's selling you a dream. But you know what you have to do for this dream. So I thought it was very much a difficult one for her. And I felt sorry for her because you can see how much. And then there's that naive, because I think both of them were still naive, because even he was naive, not really grasping that your family has so much to do with this mess. And he was still not quite like, I don't think he really took that responsibility. I think a lot of the younger character in this was a bit naive in their situation, which I thought was sad, and also very much like you can tell like the characters are just long gone. Like, how do you even save characters like that when they themselves don't even realize how bad the situation is, you know? And in throughout the stories, I felt really bad for the younger characters. I felt bad for, you know, especially Omar and Jason, you know, how their innocence was robbed.
There really is.
And even Gail, when you think of her, their innocence was robbed.
You know, I'm a little conflicted because I feel like it's naivety, but it's also realistic, because a lot of our experience of the world comes from either us living through things and learning lessons, or the people who've already had those lessons telling us and us believing without having to experience things for ourselves. And in all of these characters' lives, we kind of get a little bit of a shadow of people who may have told them things that would have maybe kept them from acting so naively, maybe not being naive, but acting naively. And they didn't listen. They didn't listen because, all of them, I think, all of these characters, they believed in a possibility. And I think that's necessary, for you to strike out and actually do something that's different from what the people around you are doing. You have to have some kind of a naivety to believe in the dream, to believe that the dream is possible. But I feel like, the people around them were taking advantage of them. And also, there just wasn't a lot of opportunity to pursue those ambitions.
I also think generational trauma added to that, because if you think
Oh,
about it,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
in Omar's situation,
Mm-hmm.
his mother's thrown in his face. He's like his father. You go to
Mm-hmm.
Jason, and it's the same thing. You have Judith
Mm-hmm.
throwing in his face that he's his father. So
Mm-hmm.
there's that whole idea of them taking on responsibility for parents who just, they themselves went through trauma and
Mm-hmm.
have no idea. They just trying to survive. And in
Mm-hmm.
the midst of trying to survive, they're releasing their stress and their anger and their pain on their children. And then there's consequence. There's
Mm-hmm.
consequence, and you can see that in how it went down. It was just like you just see the train wreck, and you're like, wow. And it's painful. It is painful, because you are born in poverty. You're born in despair. You don't know no other way. And you have people who escape, because when you think of um, his father, Jason fought, he escaped. Essentially, he took a way out, and never, in a way, and I necessarily think he didn't look back, because you think about it, it was 5 year pass and there's no change. But that's normal. People think coming to America that everything is going to be fast, and things are going to be great. And even he had to sell his soul in order to benefit, because he was still sending stuff, even though the poor kid couldn't appreciate the brands he was getting. He was still doing his part by still selling stuff, but he sold his soul. You got to think about it. Think about the fact that he's having to be intimate with a woman that he is not even attracted to, just so that he can have a better life, because he couldn't find a job in his own island. He couldn't take care of his wife and, well, his woman, his kid, So it's a tough book, but it is, like you said, it's very realistic, and it's very sad, because people don't realize some of the decisions that these people do leave their country to come here and experience, and they have to live with.
Mm-hmm.
You think of a lot of Caribbean books that we've read recently. You think of the Patsy. You think of Lucy, which I just read for the CaribAthon. You think of so much, that some of them come and they leave everything behind, and some of them are here and they're haunted by what they experience in their own land, but they still want to be home, and they can't be home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of stories. There are a lot of stories in this book. I mean, it's a book of stories, right? But there are a lot of other stories, not just these main characters in each one of these stories. There's a story behind every character, and we could explore those if Miss Mohammed wants to write a sequel to this book.
Oh yeah,
of those minor characters, best believe I'm on it, because there's so many stories, like you're talking about the generational issues, and we see it in almost every character that's mentioned. Like, there are a lot of instances here where women are commodities, and they're traded as commodities, and we see where sometimes it seems like maybe they get something in exchange. But just the baseline is that women are traded as commodities, and whether they're traded for an envelope, a white envelope with cash that's given to them, or traded for cash that's given to someone else, or whether they get a husband in exchange for the money that their parents have paid out, as in the case of the women who are coming from families in these arranged marriages. But every woman in this story is traded. Even, what's her name now? Is it Marisol? Consuela's sister.
Mm-hmm.
You know, women have a value, but the value isn't. The value is financial,
Yeah.
and it's not given to the women themselves. It's given to someone else,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, just
And not even just financial too.
in this book.
Is keeping stuff. When you think of Miss Ivy, think of her
Mhm,
having when
mhm,
after he dies, and she's questioning her value to the family. She's
mhm.
questioning her not getting even an invite to his funeral. She's questioning all the years of her keeping these family secrets
Mhm,
and her herself being abused.
mhm.
And you see how that comes out in the end, where I'm like, wow, like just to think that it took all of that for her to realize that she's not valued by this family. She's not important.
It's there are many levels of sadness where that is concerned, but it also makes for really interesting reading.
Yeah, especially when she was trying to come back with this with the singing, and all these people coming out the woodwork like, oh, he did this to me. That part of the story, I was like, why am I laughing? But it was funny
Yeah,
because it was just like how people were just like, wait, me, me
I
too.
feel like I know that story from Jamaica, but we're not gonna go there. I feel like
Oh my God.
yeah.
Okay. What about a how do you feel about Luce, the religion, and how it really wasn't about the religion?
Before you talk about Luz, I wanted to respond to something that Pat said. Pat Hamilton said, couldn't believe that he accepted what she went through. Very raw. This is, I think you're talking about Consuela and
Yeah,
Sunil.
the first one, yeah.
So I wanna just go. I want to just go there before you talk about anything else. What do you think about Sunil's character?
Hmm. The what I said earlier, I thought he was naive. I wonder what do you guys think with that? I thought he was naive. He meant well, but he was very naive.
Is it okay? Okay, so I guess my question is it okay that he has good intentions, even if someone else has to suffer because of his good intentions? I guess that's really what I wanted to talk about.
Oh, because he is the guy that escaped with him. He didn't care. He got caught.
Richard? Was that Richard? For Richard.
His friend, he was telling him to drive, knowing that they would have shoot up the car.
Oh no, hold on. Richard was the one who escaped the prison with him, right? Richard
Yeah, he didn't care. He got caught, and then his friend, when he was telling his friend just drive, knowing that they got guns.
Stench what's his name? Stench. These characters' names, boy, I tell you. But yeah.
Richard is the one that escaped with him, and Stench is the one that was waiting for him.
Yeah, Stench on the boat. Yeah, but I guess my question is, what do you think is it okay that here's a base question. Does Sunil love Consuela? Does he really love her? Can he love her?
I think he can. I think he still have that innocence about him that it's you could tell it's pure love. That's his definition of what love is. I don't think he was being any other way. And I think sometimes when they're young and naive like that, it is the purest form of love because they don't understand heartache and danger and certain things. He wanted to rescue her. And
let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you in Jamaican. If everybody on here don't understand, I'll tell you in English afterward. Me no want that kind of love. You hear me? Me no want it. In Jamaica, because he thinks that it's okay for you to. Sunil thinks it's okay to pawn off his woman for a while so he could come back and rescue her. You know, I used to write poetry. I don't write a lot of poetry these days, but I used to write poetry. I remember I wrote this story about pretty much an exact situation. It's about You take what I have, right? And do whatever you want to mess it up, and then give me back the like the dregs. It's like you take the drink and you drink out all the good part, you give me the dregs, and you want me to be thankful for it? No, Kippy, me no want it. Me no want that, because
Look, let's be frank. None of these characters want them love, okay? None of them don't want them love. None of them, okay?
because
But
it's not like you're putting her in your mother's house and say, okay, mommy, keep her until I come back. You're putting her to be pimped out, and men are using up her body. And okay, he has to
yeah, but
convince
was it
himself
all
that
his
it's
fault
okay.
though? Because he didn't know his family was such a I
He
don't think
didn't
really
know.
knew all that was.
He didn't know everything they were doing.
Yeah.
But
So I don't know. I don't know if I'm necessarily gonna blame him for everything, because he's still, like I said, there's some bit of betrayal that happened with that too.
yeah,
Because the way it ended up happening to him, he ended up in prison, still trying to protect somebody else.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, Pat says he knew what his father was going to do, considering he promised her mother. Yeah, I, yeah, Kippy, no one I kind of love. I'd rather be by myself. I'd rather be by myself than be with
Oh
people.
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, any way you slice it, she was psychologically messed up. Period.
And
No
it's
matter
interesting
what
because-
direction she goes, because even her sister had somewhat turned into something else. When you think of everybody that's been is damaged in that situation.
And I was looking through because I wanted to find the quote. I didn't tab my book. I should probably go back and tab it. But there's a time when she was thinking about what her mother wanted from her, and she was saying, like, even like everybody else has a dream for her, including her mother, and nobody asks her like what she wants. Her mother wants her to go be a teacher, and
but isn't that normal though? A lot of Caribbean parents do that to their kids.
Absolutely. But it's like, okay, go be a teacher regardless of whatever else has to happen, to do. I don't know. Yes, it's normal and it's good for you to have a dream for your kid, but
you can't force them to do what you want.
So how about you ask her what she wants to do? But yeah, this is not such a pleasant place.
No, and it's a very fictional place that she talks about. I remember I went and saw her 2 weeks ago, and one of the first questions is, did she come up with the stories? And she said that it was an accident. She had wrote a bunch of short stories. She had wrote like a beginning and end situation, and then she decided to do the whole tie in the other stories in it. And but she really talked about each of them in a way that like home. She talked about home because that was her most challenging one, and not so much for the sexuality part, but for the most part, keeping the dialogue straight, keeping how a Trinidadian person would talk and how a Bayesian person would talk. Now she knew Trinidadian to talk because that's where she's from, but she still wanted to keep the authentic part of the character that was from Barbados, and also how the cultural differences, how Barbados is a little bit more ahead of us, even Jamaica, in terms of how they handle the LGBT community compared to Barbados was like open-minded about it, versus the other part of the islands were still like, we're not talking about that. My child is not gay. When you think of the character in this and how she constantly kept telling herself that she's not gay, she's doing everything and she's like constantly saying, no, I'm not gay. What are you talking about? And it was sad because you can see her struggling because of, even though our parents, especially her father, treated her very poorly, and then when he's hurt, that's what she keeps thinking about. She keeps thinking about the last experiences she had with him, the last communication she had with him. And I thought that was interesting. And her writing this, because we all know Celeste is straight. So that's why I'm in it straight. So her writing this character, she said, was different. And she was joking about how when her family had to read it, and all that. And again, she's Caribbean. So you imagine your grandmother picking up it and reading it, or a certain family member. So we were laughing, but it was just like, it really, even as an author, you think about that whole situation as a Caribbean person, you know. How you guys felt about Home? The you guys in the comment section, let me know, because I was kind of interested that she said that was one of her hardest one that she wrote. If you from Barbados, if anybody from Barbados in there, did you notice any difference in the dialogue? I didn't really notice the difference.
Yeah, Dawn is Bajan. I never thought about Barbados being a little bit more progressive. Is that the correct term?
Yeah, that's the correct term.
The Barbadian Prime Minister, Motley, she's a gay woman. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dawn. But when I heard that she'd won the election to be prime minister, and that she was gay, I was a little surprised, because I was kind of thinking about scandals that they had in Jamaica a few cycles of prime ministers ago, when they used to rumor that one of the prime ministers had homosexual tendencies and all kinds of stuff, and it was this big, it was a big scandal, and I wondered if the same thing or something similar would have happened in another country. But
as a Jamaican, you think that would ever happen in Jamaica? I don't think so.
I mean, I think things are changing. But I don't know. Because she's.
Oh, she said she didn't. Dawn said she hasn't come out and actually claimed to be gay.
Really?
It's alleged.
I thought she was married. I thought. Okay. Sorry, Miss Motley.
Oops.
I thought that was okay. All right. Forget I said anything. Scratch that. Oops. All right, moving on. Let's talk about Home.
I know, right?
Oops.
Okay. I also thought of how, even in this case, when going back to where you're saying how the women are treated, you even think of her as this is her daughter, and this is her father, and even her in this case experienced it. She saw her father's how did to the housekeeper, Ivy. She saw that, and she saw her mother giving her telling her to shut up and never talk about this again, never even think about it ever happening. And so even her having to deal with that life of seeing her father in this negative way, it was interesting when she talked about that, where I understood her not wanting. Actually, she was brutal. She was like hoping the man was dead when she found out that a woman was involved that may have put, at the time, being the one to shoot him. And I'm like, oh, that is just, you could, like your father when he's like, she's like, is he dead? Like, wow.
All these characters are their own people. And it's very important, I think, that you let people be who they are. Because when you try to squelch people, you try to get them to conform to you what you want, is when you damage relationships.
Yep.
A flashback to Omar. Is it Omar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who won the Jag group to just kind of be like, he had him on a pedestal that he's this great father, and then when he sees what this man wants to do, he's like attacking them with this machete. I laughed at that scene.
I was really rooting for him at the end because I was like, oh, he defend himself, and I'm like, well, what is he gonna do? Because the way they ended that one, he's just like, oh, I'm gonna stay here on this beach. So I was really shocked when he showed up at Brother Omar, and I'm like, I felt like the author done broke my heart. She done broke my heart when she did that to Omar, because I was rooting for him. I was rooting for him. Like he was gonna get out of that town. He was gonna leave that area. He was gonna have something going on. No, she turned him into Brother Omar, and I'm like, she hurt my feelings.
Yeah, but they're young. He's 17. Think about where you were and what you were thinking and what you were,
I totally get that, but it's just in my mind. I needed one character.
Yeah.
One character who's gonna just walk out of this in a positive way.
Yeah.
And not one. The only person that I felt may have is the husband. The husband in Loose. When he took off and said, I'm getting away from this crazy woman. I was like, oh, that is messed up. Like, maybe it's the only way, even though how he ended it because he did slap her. But I'm just, in my mind, I'm like, that was some psycho mess. That all she wanted is a child, and she took that man through all of that because she couldn't have a discussion with him, thinking that he's the one that can't make her have a child. Like he's the one that's causing the issue. And the religious part becomes like a mask for what the real issue was. And then what she did to him, I was like, oh no, that's some crazy mess.
And that kind of taps into a different discussion, but a really relevant one that the author brings out. A lot of people look for escape in religion. It's not a true religious conversion. It's just a place where you don't have to deal with things. People don't expect you to deal with things. You can hide behind the cloak of, spirituality, or pretend that you've repented or whatever it is. People hide behind religion without really being converted. And, bringing that in here just kind of.
You saw, I thought that was clever though. I thought how it was written was very clever because you really don't get it until the end and you're like, oh, she went there with that. Like that was really, that was some psychological stuff written there. How you guys feel about that chapter, guys? Oh, somebody said, but that's what's happened when men see their heroes fall off the pedestal. Yeah.
I think that's Charlie. Hi, Charlie. Yeah, that was a big disappointment. Sometimes it's not. The reaction is not specifically to that person. It's because of what you've placed, what you have kind of projected onto that person. Because Mr. Jack Group was nobody's hero. Let's just start there. But Omar was looking for his father.
Yeah, a father figure.
Yeah, he's looking for his father. He's looking for God. He's looking for the prime minister or whatever government official. He's looking for all of that. He's looking for his boss. He's looking for his landlord. Everybody. Mr. Jack Group was a representative of all of that. And so anything he did, was looking to excuse him, and then just he attacked the thing that he held sacred, which was the turtle, and just
And do you notice the connection? Because he had the turtle is connected to his father. And do you notice that how they describe his father? His father is supposed to be a white Dutchman. And you notice when you get to the epilogue and how he's describing light skin or white people. You see the damage from that, his father not being there, and how he looked at his father as this kind of person, and how that is what fueled him to get himself now into a gang or family of these kind of people. And how he's telling Kevin, because Kevin now father is with not Kevin, Jason's father is now married to a white woman in America. I thought that was like full circle. Like you just see the psychological damage that this young boy has, and how it's fluid him. It's forcing him to not even address certain things. And the poor kid don't even get it because he doesn't know the background story really of Omar. And he's listening to Omar because, again, here comes this white woman that took his father away.
It's a lot. It's a lot of, it's a lot of elements that we could kind of go down tangents discussing those elements. And she puts them all together in this book. I thought it was really clever writing. I thought it was really smart. Really smart. Engaging. Yeah.
Yeah. That was heavy. That was heavy because it's a part of self-hate as well, if you think about it.
There's a lot of that in the book.
Yeah. Miss Ivory's a few people's favorite. I love Miss Ivory. She got to release it. Her storyline at the end, she released all that backed up feelings and the abuse and things that she had. She got to release it at the end. That part of the story I love because she seemed like to be the only character that really got to let it go, release all of that years of that she has dealt with. But it took the death of the man to do that.
Yeah, so she loses things when she, to get that release, she has to lose things. And think about how long she's been holding those things. So yes, it's cathartic, but it took so long to get there. Like, is it worth it? The other day I was having this conversation. With someone, and we're talking about age and aging, and how when you're younger, people who are a lot older, it seems like a lot of things have been resolved in their life, and they're at the place where life seems like it's on a smooth cycle. But that's only because you're meeting that person in the later stages of their life, or that part of their life. If you were around when they were going through the twists and turns, you would think the same thing. So a lot of these younger characters in the book, thinking about the twists and turns of their life, is because of youth. Miss Ivy's had to swallow a lot over the years. And so we are seeing her kind of, eventually everybody gets their comeuppance, whether it's good or bad. And we're seeing her get her release at this point. But just think about what she says, what she's had to, what she did for the family, what she's endured. I remember when Gail goes to get her advice, and she's like, you think you're the first one? You think you're the only person who's come to me with these stories? And just thinking about her over the years, having, kind of being the person that people, they see but they don't see. Like, she's the seer, but they don't see her. They see what they want from her or what they can get from her, right? And yeah, we're meeting her at this point where she's endured all of that, and she's at this crux in her life, and it's really interesting.
I think that's Charlie. Charlie, do you think she had a choice but not to keep those secrets? Because the way that she explained it, there were times he tried to kill her. He threatened to basically kill her if she didn't even do what he wanted her to do. So and then also he's painted as a man with money, a man with power. He's employing people in the community. He's basically, think about so many people in that community that's poor. They needed his funds. So he had a lot of power. So I don't know if necessarily she could save so many people. I think the only way she could have saved is if he's dead. And that's pretty much the sad part of the whole idea of the story. Because again, there are a lot of powerful men like that in communities, and they know their power and they use it to their advantage, and they take advantage of these women who are trying to sometimes feed their kids, sometimes just trying to survive and not be on the streets. And could they really even open their mouth and say, oh, by the way, he's doing this, doing that? But think about even the wife. She knew. The wife knew. She did nothing.
The wife always knows.
They do.
The wife always knows. But it's back to the statement about the value that is placed on women, the value that other people put on the woman, and the value that a woman puts on herself based on her situation and kind of what she wants and what she's hoping to get. But there's no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Come
on, we having this conversation. Let's dig. This is heavy topic, but we're here for it.
All right, listen, this is not what I believe. Okay, this is not what I believe. Part of this is why I don't live in Jamaica anymore. But there are a lot of women who it's okay. It's okay that the man does what he does as long as I get mine. As long as, I'm the wife and I'm home and I have the children. And
you hit it on the right there. As long as he's there. Because when you think about a lot of people's grandparents, a lot of them did not have a man around. So the next generation is willing to put up with anything, because having a man in the house is like looked upon as like you are the woman. You got a man. Versus if you are single, it's a problem. And you see that a lot in Caribbean homes. So you hit it on it. It's having a man there.
But it's, the single woman's problem too is that not that being a single is a problem. It's a problem for other people because they don't trust the single woman, because as long as she's single, then apparently she's just like a magnet and all the men are going to rush to her. So you can't have a single woman around. So, you know.
I've experienced that. I remember even my experience with that situation. I met a girl at the gym and we were going. Every time I go to the gym, she was there and we are working out and everything. And then there was an opportunity where she was like, oh, she's having some kind of event. You should bring your husband. And I said, I'm single. I ain't with that woman since. She cut me off. And I never understood. At the time, I was a little younger. And I was like, what was that about? And then I asked a few of my married friends. And they said, yes, you are single. You put yourself together. They do not want you around their husbands. No. So they're not even trying to entertain you. And then their husband don't want you around because they thinking you're going to be a bad influence on their wife. I said, oh, Lord.
Yeah.
I was like, what in the world?
It's tough. It could be tough for single women of a certain age because, especially if you don't have children, it's hard to find friends because a lot of people are married or in relationships or have children. And, none of those people want to hang or can hang with you. And it could be tough.
Yeah. They can't get up and go like I can.
Yeah.
And it's you get to the point where you get used to them canceling on you. I'm used to that. Someone always canceling on me. Hey, we're going out. Then like, nope, I can't, or I don't have a babysitter or whatever. So, that's a tough one, but what can we do? But yeah. Yeah, but I think it's just, I don't know how wives can put up with that. Someone said, as long as they keep it out the house, outside the house, the wife is like, the wife is number one. I just don't understand that aspect of knowing that your husband is out there doing dirt. And
So, the book kind of explores it. The book shows that in what's his name now? Mr. H's case.
yeah.
The men don't actually leave their wives, right? No matter how terrible the relationship is or non-existent, the man's not leaving his wife. So he goes and he does whatever as many times as with as many women as he can, and eventually he comes back because that's his wife. That's his wife, and that's his home, and those are his children, and he not leaving. So I guess there's a certain amount of security knowing that, no matter what else is happening, he always coming back because this is home. But no, trust me, you can't live so. You can't live so. I don't want to live so. Rather than by myself. So it took me a long time to find my prince.
Lord, I'm still looking.
It was worth the wait. It was worth the wait because I'm telling you, I couldn't live like that.
That's how I feel. I'd rather be by myself. I cannot do drama. I cannot.
If you guys have read, I know we're talking about Pleasant View, so let me hold it up so we don't forget. But I read The Bread the Devil Need. Lisa Albertini.
That's a tough one. That was a tough one.
And there's this thing that the lady says. What's the guy's name? It's the same kind of story where the couple have a store, and the husband is, I use the term husband very loosely. The husband is, holding every female who works in the store, essentially holding her over the desk as soon as they come into his office. And the wife knows, she knows, but she don't care because that's her husband, and he coming home after he do all his dirt. I'm like, no.
I think, sadly, I think a lot of these women, they look at the option. And a lot of time the option for them is they both bad. So it's more like, oh, I'm going to be on the streets. Or if they see...
Both of those women, both of those situations, the women had money. It's not like they didn't have money. Yes. Like even with that book, the woman had money. She didn't have the name. In this book, the woman has money. She's the, her family is the one who kind of pay the dowry for them to get married.
So yeah.
They don't have.
I think that Hannah Neal hers is psychological. I think the
versus taboo.
I think the other book, the woman, hers is psychological. When you think about what she did, what she been through as a child, I don't think she's like in her own way. Because there was opportunity for her to get away.
Oh, you mean the main character? Yeah.
Hers is psychological. Hers is deep. It's you can as the story go, you realize why she never left. Because in a way, she thought she deserved that.
We would need to sit down and talk about an hour about that book, because that was a tough one.
Did anybody read that book?
It's
I keep getting the name wrong. The hand the devil need, the bread the devil need.
The bread the devil need.
Yeah. Did anybody else read that one? That's a good Caribbean book, but that book really put me. I had so much emotion reading that book. A few times I wanted to throw that damn book. I was
reading it on my phone. I was reading a Kindle version on my phone, so I couldn't throw it. But that was one of those books where if I had a paperback, I probably would have thrown that book, because I wanted to take that lady out. I said, listen, lady, I don't remember her name, but boy.
Even the police, when he tried to help her, like, run. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, but but again, that story is so familiar. Women make excuses for men because, like you say, the options they think about, okay, so break up with him. And
go do what my mother do. Wash.
Yeah.
scrub people floor, go wash people clothes, go cook. They look at that because they see the pain on their mother going through it, and they're thinking, I don't want that. So I'd rather deal with this man that don't love me, that's just using me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Alethea. Alethea was her name. Name after her grandmother, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Remember when she met her grandmother in that book?
Mm.
And like, what's her name? People see I had to laugh. There was a scene in the book, right? So the child is named after the grandmother, and the child meeting the grandmother for the first time. The child has this woman's name. The woman said, "People still pick to them their name." But it was, you know, it was so realistic. Like,
yeah, that's that one book. That's a good book. If you have not read that book, guys, go pick it up, read it, because you need to be in an emotion with us. That's another book that should be discussed.
yeah. I feel like I've been recommending books all day, every day for the past couple of weeks. But boy, some of these books, man, you really get into them. They tell some really familiar stories because I know people like that.
Yeah, that is the sad part. Like you read it, you're like, oh yeah, I know, Miss Ivy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh. All right. Anybody got any questions about the book? Charlie says it's the cycle. We can break or perpetuate it. As women, we're given even fewer opportunities. True. And left to these situations with trash men told by society we have to live with it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But you gotta do the best you can for yourself. And I feel like there are a lot of situations in Pleasant View where we saw people who started off with ambition. And I think a lot of them, if they'd gotten the opportunities, they could have done better. You kind of get a little bit of a flash into the dreams that they may have pursued if only there had been opportunity. But there's always something standing in the way, always something, whether it's a family member or poverty or, just maybe not other people around you not having that belief or not having that dream. It's tough. It's real tough. My heart breaks when I read about like teenagers who don't have the opportunity to go to school. Not every kid wants to go to school. I was just talking to grandmother for a little boy I used to work with. I work with this youth group at my church. And so this little boy was in our youth group for years, and he would go back and forth because his mom lived in another state and stuff, and I knew him. And grandmother was telling me, I was asking about him last week because they had a graduation celebration at the church. And she was like, he don't go to school no more. I said, what? She said, yeah, they bought him a car and got him a job to pay for the car. And I was like, okay. And then what? There are people who don't want to go to school. He didn't want to go to school. Okay. But there are kids who want to go to school and they don't have that opportunity.
Yep.
I remember the scene where Omar is thinking about, where he was a few months before and where he probably would have been if somebody had, kind of pushed him to go to school or had the money for him to go to school. And just, kind of reflecting on where he would be at 17 if only the opportunity existed for him. But when you port, what is saying in Peter in Jamaica? What is it? Anybody notice the saying? There's a idiom, a proverb, a Jamaican proverb.
Yeah, I remember.
It's something about poor. It will come to me after this is finished. But, it's rough. It's rough. it would be great if every kid who wanted to go to school could go to school. When you hear about people who have the opportunity and don't want it, throw it away, or don't just, I don't want it, it breaks my heart. But yeah. Gina said, what was up with the yellow onesie lady at the bar?
She was Rachel's outlet. Remember, she's thrown in the closet too.
Mm-hmm.
So she had no one really to talk to because she can't even come out and because because Kim's like, no, you're not. So
Kimberly said, we in the closet.
In the closet. So she had the onesie woman is also out, she's also understand because she's also gay. That's the impression they give. So she's able to talk to her and pour her heart out. But at the same time, it's a betrayal for Kim when you think about it, because she's like, no one's supposed to know this.
My kid is calling for me. I'm gonna have to go soon. Yeah, it's it's not a story that I'm personally acquainted with. Like maybe I left Jamaica too early. Maybe I just don't know. But yeah, I think it must be hard. I think it must be hard. I read two books, Nicole Dennis Ben's two books, where she talks about
the first one she had.
Yeah, Here Comes the Sun.
Here Comes the Sun. Yeah, that's a good example of closet.
Yeah, and I tell you a little story. The first time I read that book, I didn't like it. If you go back if you watch older videos on my channel, I probably should take some of those statements I can't stand behind anymore. But the first time I read the book, I went on my channel and I was like, I don't like this book. I don't like it because it's not true. All of these things are not true about
it's true.
They're true. They're not true. It's not representative of all the people in Jamaica, but it's true. It is.
It's true.
It's true. I felt like I
think the time changed though. But if you're gonna go back to the 80s and the 90s, it is very true.
Yeah. It is. Listen, it is. And because I didn't personally experience it, maybe I didn't know all the things that were happening, which is why I'm saying, why I probably said it wasn't like that. But who am I to
when I read hers, when I read Kai Miller, I especially what's the book that I have over here? The Same Earth, and certain things that happen in that book, I was like, oh, I remember a situation in my community, and they went over that man's house and were acting a fool because of what they thought that man was. Yeah, that one was another one where I'm like, in my mind, I was young. I never understood it because I was raised in the church. I was heavily in the church. My grandmother lived with the church. So when you hear them having these conversations, you just thought that was normal. But when I got older and I realized, ooh, yeah, that was some situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know all the things. I didn't know all the things that were happening. That's the Same Earth is the one with the man that was having the party with his friends.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, that's that one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I literally was reading. I was like, oh, I was. Like it just gave me like I remember certain things. You're young, you don't understand these. You don't get it. You don't understand none of that. And then that you're older and you're reading that part, you're like, oh my God, I remember situations like that happening. And people would and whether or not it was true, the rumor spread.
It don't have to be true.
It don't
have to be true. What people say is what people remember.
Mm-hmm.
So it don't have to be true, but it's true.
Yeah. Kai Miller and Nicole Dennis band. Yeah, I read. Not read. I think she did. She was talking about the article that she did, and she talked about her coming out, and I'm like, that had to be tough, because our culture.
Yeah. When I when I found out about her, I started to follow like her story. And did she go back to Jamaica to get married?
Yes, she did.
It's like
Mhm.
how she pulled
I
that.
thought that was very. I was a little bit like, ooh, time
Yeah,
has really changed
yeah,
because
yeah.
I don't think you
She
could have
pulled
done
that
that
off.
10 years ago.
No,
Well, more than
10
10
years
years ago.
before she did it. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that was
I don't.
in the
Yeah, I
90s.
don't think that was going to come out good because people were brutal. So when that happened, I kind of was like, okay, we're moving forward. Even now, if you think of some of these people now who are on social media and who are still living in Jamaica and they're out, and you kind of see that and you said, okay, we're moving forward in a way that's healthy and not brutally, I mean, harassing and doing the worst to some of these people. Some of these documentaries that I've seen, I'm like, wow, this is my island. That's just so wrong.
Yeah, and even people who are living out their truth, um, I'm still kind of scared
Hmm.
because just because their friends and their family and their immediate circle accept this truth about them doesn't mean that everybody does or will, and you still have to be concerned about ignorant
Hmm.
ignorant people who may have access to them.
Hmm.
So yeah, man, I watched one of those documentaries. I don't know if it's the same one you watched. I don't remember names now, but I watched one of those documentaries a few years ago. I cried.
Hmm. It was bad.
Just think about what happens to people just for living the way they want to live. Like, you
Hmm.
don't have to agree with it. It's the same thing we were talking about today, like, with Roe v. Wade being overturned. You don't have to
Yeah,
agree with what
yeah.
people do, but they have the right to make the choices.
It's there. Yeah, yeah. I thought that I literally saw that like for 2 seconds, and I just couldn't even go any further and even look into that because I just think of how backwards we are going and how much this is going to affect people such a negative way. But at the same time, it's our reality of some changes that are happening that we don't have control over.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then there's also those hidden agenda when you think of it, because you think of some of these stories where you think of people out story, a lot of them, they themselves are in the closet and they feel that you might pull them out. Those happen.
you know, um, Peter, what did Don say earlier? It's alleged, okay? It's alleged.
But that happens. That
Yeah,
happens. Like,
of course.
you know, you hear stories like that and you wonder why they're so upset. Why are you so upset? Why does that person's lifestyle bother you so much? And then
Mhm.
you realize, oh,
Some of it is self-hatred,
mm-hmm,
like somebody said earlier, and some of it is fear that if you're living out, then you force things on them, or
yeah,
expose them or whatever.
mm-hmm,
But listen, I like the book. I love the book. I am
yes.
waiting for the second
People
installment.
ask her, but she
Pleasant.
hasn't said whether
No,
or not she's kind of like shied away from that answer.
yeah.
But
Sometimes what we ask for, we don't really want,
yeah,
because
I
some of the
I
things
do feel
that
like
we
a
do
spin
want.
off of what's her name, Suella, might
Who?
be interesting
Oh,
because you don't know what happened to her. You don't
yeah,
know,
Consuela.
yeah, you don't
Ah,
know
yeah.
what, you know what I mean? Like, how did she even get out of the situation? It would be nice to her being much older in the future, and then her
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
having like a
Not right
storyline.
away. Yeah, it wouldn't be right away. Maybe
Yeah.
10 years or so, you kind of see what happens to her. I feel like I felt the same way with that Bayesian book that we read last year. Dawn would remember. She's still on. Um, how the one armed sister
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
house. I think
That's
we
another
all
messed up
wanted
one.
to read, yeah, we all wanted to read her story to see what happens, specifically what happens. But it's one of those stories like it's better if you don't know right now.
Yeah.
You know, give her a few years, and then maybe you can
Yeah.
revisit her story, but not
Yeah.
right
But
away.
she said the pandemic, she wrote some children's book that she's coming out with.
Oh, okay.
And she's trying to um enjoy the moment on these awards because she won all of those in the middle of the pandemic, so she didn't get to do any book tour. That's why she's doing them now. And she was saying how she didn't even get to really have that moment because it was like, okay, I'm having that moment when I'm home and I can't go anywhere, I can't do anything. So now she's enjoying the moment.
Just enjoy it. Yeah, Gina was talking about the dialect in the Bread the Devil Need. That was a
Mhm.
really interesting
Yeah.
reading experience because it's written exactly how
Yes.
Canadians talk.
Yes.
Like, yeah,
I think that is even
there are
more
curse,
had
but
more dialogue than Pleasant View. Yeah.
Loved it.
Because they had more of a social gathering too. Because you think of when they were doing the fete, and they were all like dressing up the same outfit or something like that. And you see how they're talking in the circle of the friends talking. That felt more.
Yeah.
You felt
It was
like
a lot
that
more
was fun.
dialogue based
Yeah.
narrative. A lot gets revealed between how how just the conversations that the lady was having, like at her job, the employees, and whatever happened between she and her boyfriend when she comes home, and the guys in taxi and the maxi taxi. Sorry.
Oh yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's what they call it.
It's different though because a maxi taxi, based on this book, maxi taxi have a lot more people. It's not the taxi that we know.
Yeah.
It's like a minibus.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was at
Yeah.
first
I
when
remember thinking maxi
I was
taxi.
a car, but no, it's like a minibus. Listen, guys, I'm gonna have to go, right? But
Yeah.
I love Caribbean literature.
We can wrap
All
this
the
up.
years I wasn't reading Caribbean books, I wish I could get them back so I could read all the books all the time. But
And
I love
we
this book.
definitely should do more of this.
Oh yeah.
We should definitely do more. I always say I want to do more live on this channel, and I never do.
Yeah.
But we definitely, should do more of this and have some Caribbean moment and talk about some Caribbean books because maybe once every couple of months or something, we can do like a Caribbean book and do a live on here.
Absolutely.
And we can always switch, do the one on your channel or my channel just to break it up and we can talk about it. So what you can do, guys, is give us recommendation of some Caribbean books that you would love for us to read and have a live discussion on. I think that would be a great idea, and we could definitely do more of these and talk about because there's so many good Caribbean books that have, things that we could definitely dig and talk about and have a really, discussion on.
Oh yeah.
But thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. There's a lot of you guys this time around, and I was like so happy because I wasn't sure about the time. But you guys came out and we had a really, really and good conversation. And thanks for Karen, because I know Karen got that little baby.
She asked me for her mommy.
So she was able to do this. But yeah, this go ahead and I'm saving this so you guys could go back and leave comments under them for the recommendation of books.
Yeah.
That
Mad
you want
World 1962 said Marie Conde book. I'm there. Listen, I'm there.
Yeah,
so.
I've not read it, but I will definitely look into it.
Anyone. All right.
All right, Pat. We definitely gonna do that.
It was great. Thank you, Peter, for hosting. Yeah. Everyone have a great weekend.
Okay. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next one. All right. Bye.